And we're back once again to continue through Smetana's My Country as it's translated on this CD. Thank you greatly once again to Michaela. And yes, as I explained, my understanding is Smetana recorded or composed these symphonic tone poems individually and only later decided to collect them together and perform them in a suite. Nevertheless, the second poem is translated as the Moldau, and here I think the, let's say, well, the Czech word for the river in question is the Vltava. So yes, I understand this to be a very significant river not only in the Czech landscape but in Czech history and culture. I do believe this is a piece that is used in Nodame Cantabile, and as I've been doing with other pieces I've done during classical days as reactions, I'm going to include a link to my watch along of Nodame in this video description because, again, if you like classical music, even if you've never watched a single minute of Japanese drama, I highly encourage you to check it out because it is very much for music lovers in general and for classical music lovers specifically. And yes, so I expect to recognize at least parts of this, and with no further ado, let's give it a listen. This is performed by Collegium 1704, an orchestra, I assume, and conducted by Vaclav Lux, the performance of the Moldau by Smetana. Clever. So yes, the main graceful and grand melody that comes around a few times, that is notably used in Nodame, and it made me want to say Chiaki, in the style of either Straisman or Vieira Sensei, which if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, I highly encourage you to check it out, because this piece, several others I've done over the last few days, and many, many other great pieces are found throughout the series, not only played but discussed with historical context, a little bit of analysis, and also the human element. So yes, a quick plug for Nodame here, but yes, it's grand, it's beautiful. There are a couple moments along the way where it gets a bit more tension filled, even a section in the latter stages where I would say it's almost like tempestuous, like the waters of the river have gotten a bit more dangerous, or perhaps what is carrying on top of them is something of danger. But ultimately, it did feel very sweeping and noble and significant, important. So that definitely came across. And there's some moments like between the big grand sections that I was familiar with. There are parts where it's like flutes or woodwinds are really fluttering, and it feels like there's a lot of life surrounding the river. It feels like there's a suggestion not just of the river itself, but all that it maintains, all that it sustains, and all that is situated on the banks of it. So again, I feel like there's a lot that comes across despite there being no words in the piece, which I guess a symphonic tone poem, I guess that's really the essence of that, right? So again, big shout out to Smetana, and also to Liszt, who, from what I understand, was a key figure in the development of the idea of a symphonic tone poem. So yes, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it absolutely has some compelling dynamic evolution across the course of it, but that main melody, which, the moment it came around the first time, it's like, ah yes, this is indeed used. And as I mentioned in my first set, or my reaction to the first set of Dvorak's Slavonic dances, there's a Slavonic dance in the second set which is used when they're showing the Moldau, and it's definitely one that I'm looking forward to reacting to. I will be doing the second set before we finish these classical days, so yes, hearing good Czech classical music has been not only a joy through Nodame, but now getting to go through these in a proper reaction setting is fantastic. So once again, big thank you to Michaela. We have 4 more in the suite of symphonic tone poems left, so I'll see you for the next one in a moment. Peace.